I stood up slowly, joints stiff from staying in one position too long, and began packing without turning my back to the trees. Every movement felt loud, too loud. The zipper of the bag, the click of gear, even my own breathing. It all felt like it carried further than it should have, like it was being measured, recorded, remembered. I kept the fire going while I worked, didn't let it drop, didn't let that boundary disappear. When everything was ready, I took one last look around the campsite. Nothing had changed, no tracks, no signs of anything moving through, no evidence at all that something had just stood a few feet from me hours earlier. Just like the clearing, just like the impression in the dirt. This thing didn't leave proof. It didn't need to. I grabbed my bag, moved to the truck, and got inside. The moment the door shut, something shifted, not outside, inside me, like a line had been crossed, like I'd stepped out of something, but it hadn't let go. I started the engine. The sound tore through the quiet, louder than anything I'd heard all night. For a second, I hesitated. Just one. And I looked at the side mirror. I don't know why I did it. Instinct, habit, or maybe something deeper, something telling me, look. So I did. And there it was, not far this time, not hidden, standing just beyond the edge of the trees, clear enough to see the shape, low, massive, built wrong. The body didn't move like a wolf, didn't carry weight like a bear. It was heavier, denser, like muscle layered over something older, something built for force. The head sat lower than it should have, neck thick, too thick, and those eyes locked on me. No curiosity now, no testing, just awareness. It knew I was leaving, and it was letting me. That realization hit harder than anything else, because it meant I wasn't escaping, I was being released. I gripped the wheel tighter, put the truck in gear, and drove. The forest blurred past on both sides as I pushed forward, not fast enough to lose control, but fast enough that I didn't want to stop for anything. Branches scraped against the truck again, leaves slapped the windows, the same road, the same path I'd come in on. But it didn't feel the same anymore. It felt longer, twisting more than I remembered, like the forest didn't want to let go. I kept driving, didn't check the mirrors again, didn't want to see if it was following, because deep down, I already knew. If it wanted to follow, it wouldn't need to chase. It would already be ahead of me, waiting. And just as that thought settled in, something moved on the road, far ahead, low, crossing from one side to the other, fast, too fast. My foot slammed the brake instinctively. The truck jerked hard, tires skidding slightly on the dirt. I stopped just short of where it had passed, heart pounding, breath shallow. I stared ahead. Nothing. Empty road, trees on both sides, silent, still, but I knew what I'd seen. It hadn't followed me. It hadn't chased. It had taken a different path, a faster one. And now, it was in front of me, not behind, which meant something far worse than being hunted. It meant I was being led, and wherever it was taking me, I had a feeling it wasn't a place anyone was supposed to find. I should have turned around right there. Engine still running, road clear behind me. Nothing physically stopping me from throwing the truck into reverse and getting the hell out of the land between the lakes while I still could. But I didn't, because something had already shifted, not in the forest, in me. That moment when I saw it across the road ahead, that changed everything. Up until then, I'd been reacting, avoiding, trying not to engage, but now I knew it wasn't just watching, it was directing. And a part of me, one I didn't trust, one I didn't fully understand, needed to know where it was leading me. That's the truth I don't like admitting. Curiosity, even then. Even when everything that had already happened. I eased my foot off the brake, let the truck roll forward slowly. Every sense stretched thin, eyes locked on the stretch of road where it had crossed. The dirt there was disturbed, faintly, not like normal tracks, more like the surface had been pressed down in irregular patches, too heavy, too uneven, same as the impression I'd seen back at the first clearing. My chest tightened, same thing, same presence, no doubt left now. I followed, not fast, not blindly, just enough to keep moving. The road curved slightly ahead, nothing unusual, but something about it felt off. The angle, the way the trees leaned inward, the way the light dimmed just a little too quickly as I approached. I slowed further, then I saw it, a turn, not marked, not cleared, barely even visible. A narrow break in the trees, just wide enough for something to pass through, but not something that was meant to be used. Not officially, not anymore. If it had ever been. I stared at it, heart pounding again. This wasn't on the map, I knew that. Every trail I was supposed to survey had been marked, documented, accounted for. This wasn't supposed to be here, and yet the ground at the entrance was disturbed, fresh, like something had just passed through. The same uneven compression, the same weight. It had gone this way, and for a second I almost kept driving, almost ignored it, almost chose the road I understood over the path I didn't. But that same pull hit again, stronger this time, not a voice, not a thought, just a certainty that whatever answers there were, they were down that path. I turned the wheel. The truck pushed into the narrow opening, branches scraping harder now, louder, the sound filling the cab like something resisting my entry. The moment I crossed onto it, the forest changed immediately. No transition, no gradual shift. 1 second I was on known road, the next I wasn't. The trees grew tighter, thicker, older, the ground rougher, even in ways that made the truck jolt and shake as I pushed forward. Light dropped again, noticeably, like something had cut it off above me. I checked the GPS instinctively, still working, still showing my position, but the path I was on didn't exist. Just empty space where I should have been driving. That feeling returned stronger, heavier, like I'd stepped somewhere I wasn't meant to be, somewhere that wasn't part of the place I thought I was in. Minutes. I drove for maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. Time didn't feel right anymore. The turns didn't match what I expected. The direction felt wrong, like I wasn't moving forward anymore, like I was being drawn inward. Then the trees opened slightly, not into a clearing, not like before. This was different. The ground flattened out, wider, but still enclosed, still cut off from everything else. And that's when I saw it. A structure, or what was left of one. Wood, collapsed in places. Walls half standing, roof caved in on one side. It looked old, abandoned for years, maybe decades. But something about it didn't much match that. The wood wasn't completely rotted. Some parts looked preserved, like time hadn't touched it evenly. I killed the engine. The silence that followed felt immediate, heavy, final. I stepped out slowly, The air hit me again, that same metallic scent, stronger now, mixed with something else, something I didn't want to identify. My eyes moved over the structure, windows broken, door hanging slightly off its hinges. No movement, no sound, but something was wrong. Not just the place, not just the air, the ground. I looked down and felt my stomach drop. Marks all around the structure, deep, uneven, pressed into the dirt in overlapping patterns, too many, too large, like something had circled this place again and again, not randomly, deliberately. My chest tightened. This wasn't where it hunted. This was where it came back to, and then, from inside the structure, a sound, soft, weak, human. Hello? I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to get back in the truck, drive, don't look, don't respond. But the voice came again, clearer this time. Is someone out there? My heart slammed against my ribs because this time there was no distortion, no broken tone, no wrongness. It sounded real, completely. And for the first time since I entered that forest, I hesitated, not out of fear, but because something inside me whispered, what if this one actually is? I stood there longer than I should have. Every instinct I'd built over years of working alone in remote places was still telling me the same thing. Don't go in. It didn't matter how real the voice sounded. It didn't matter how human it felt. Nothing about this place was right. Not the path, not the structure, not the ground marked with those deep, circling impressions, and definitely not the timing. But that voice, it came again. Weaker now. Please. That single word hit harder than anything before it, because it didn't sound like a trick. It didn't sound calculated. It sounded tired, desperate. And what's that? That's what made it dangerous. I took a slow step forward, then stopped. My eyes moved to the ground again. Those marks, they weren't just random passes. They overlapped, repeated, like something had spent a long time here, circling, waiting, returning. This wasn't just a place it passed through. This was a place it owned. My chest tightened. Hello? I called out. The word left my mouth before I could stop it. The moment it did, something changed. Not loud, not immediate, but real. The air shifted, subtle, like a line had just been crossed. Inside the structure, the voice responded instantly, too instantly. Thank God, it said, relief flooding the tone. I thought no one would come. I felt it then, that same wrongness from before, not in the voice itself, but in the timing, the speed, like it had been waiting specially for me to answer. My jaw tightened. You alone in there? I asked. Another pause. Short. Measured. Yeah, it said. Been stuck. I don't know how long. Something in my chest pulled. Against my better judgment, against everything I'd felt since entering that forest. Because if it was real, if someone actually was trapped in there, walking away wasn't an option. I moved closer, each step slow, careful. The structure loomed larger now, details becoming clearer. The wood wasn't just old, it was scarred. Long, deep grooves ran along parts of the walls, not random damage, not decay. Marks, claw marks, too large, too deep. My breath caught slightly. I stopped just short of the doorway. The door itself hung crooked, one hinge barely holding it in place. The opening beyond was dark, deeper than it should have been, even with the collapsed roof letting in light from above. I couldn't see far inside, just shapes, broken furniture, debris, shadow. "You there?" the voice called again, a little stronger now. "Yeah," I said, and the moment I answered, I regretted it, not because of the voice, but because of what followed. A sound behind me, close, too close, a slow, heavy shift of weight. I turned. Nothing. The trees stood still, the clearing silent, but that feeling, that presence, it had moved. It wasn't at the edge anymore. It was closer, much closer, like it had used that moment, that distraction, to reposition. My heart started pounding again, hard, fast. I turned back toward the doorway. "Where are you, inside?" I asked. "In the back," the voice said quickly. "I can't move. Something's wrong with my leg." Too fast again, too ready. But I was already in motion, already stepping over the threshold, and the second I crossed into the structure, everything changed. The air dropped, colder, heavier. The light behind me felt distant immediately, like I'd stepped much farther inside than I actually had. The smell hit next, stronger now, metallic, rotting. I froze just inside the doorway, my eyes adjusting slowly, shapes forming out of the darkness, broken beams, collapsed sections of wall, and something else on the ground, a shape, not moving. "Back here," the voice called again, softer now, just a little further. My pulse hammered in ears. Something wasn't right. Something wasn't. My foot shifted slightly and hit something soft. I looked down and everything inside me went cold, clothed, torn, darkened, stiff. I crouched slowly, reached out, and stopped just short, because I didn't need to touch it to know what it was. Clothing, old, not abandoned, left. Suddenly, my chest tightened violently. This wasn't someone stuck. This wasn't someone waiting to be rescued. This was something else. Something that had been here before, many times. The voice came again, right behind me this time. "You came." My blood froze. I turned slowly, but I already knew. I already understood. The voice inside the structure was never in the back, and whatever had been speaking to me had just stepped in with me. I didn't turn all the way. I couldn't. My body locked halfway through the motion, like something deep inside me understood that finishing it, seeing it clearly, would make this real in a way I couldn't undo. The air behind me felt full, not empty space, not distance, something there. Close enough that I could feel the shift in temperature, the pressure change, like standing too near something that carried its own gravity. "You came." The voice repeated, right behind my shoulder, perfectly clear now, perfectly human, and completely wrong. My throat tightened because I realized something in that moment. The voice outside, the one calling me into the structure, that wasn't the same voice anymore. This one was clearer, sharper, like it had improved, learned. I forced myself to move just a fraction more, enough to catch a glimpse, and what I saw wasn't a face, not fully. It was close to one, too close. Features in the right places, eyes, mouth, structure that resembled something human, but stretched, subtly, like it had been built from memory instead of design. The eyes, they didn't reflect light like before. They absorbed it, deeper up close, endless, and they were locked directly on me, studying, measuring, not aggressive, not yet, just focused. My breath hitched, and I stepped back instinctively. That's when everything shifted. The thing in front of me didn't lung, didn't strike. It tilted its head, curious, like it was watching how I reacted, like this was still part of the process, still learning. Then, another sound from deeper inside the structure, faint, weak. Help. My heart slammed against my ribs. I snapped my head toward the back of the room because that voice, that one was different, broken, unstable, real. I turned back toward the thing behind me and it was still there, still watching, still observing. Then I understood, a cold, sick realization that settled deep in my chest. There weren't layers to this. There weren't stages. There were two. One outside, one inside. One learning, one already broken. My stomach turned. The thing in front of me opened its mouth slightly, not wide, just enough to speak. You heard that too. It wasn't asking, it was confirming. I took another step back, closer to the doorway, closer to the light, and for the first time, it reacted, not aggressively, but noticeably. The head lowered slightly, the body shifted, like it hadn't like that distance. Like it preferred me deeper inside, away from the light, away from the exit. Stay, it said. The word came smoother this time, more natural, less forced. That scared me more than anything else, because it meant it was getting better, faster. I didn't answer, didn't hesitate. I moved, one step, then another, back toward the door. The thing didn't rush me, didn't try to block the exit. It just watched, tracking every movement, learning the pattern, the distance, the timing. The moment I crossed back into the doorway, the light hit me, sharp, blinding for a split second, and I stumbled forward into the clearing, air rushing into my lungs like I'd been holding my breath the entire time. I didn't stop, didn't turn, didn't check if it followed. I moved straight for the truck, fast, too fast. Keys already in my hand, door open, inside, engine. That's when I heard it again. From the structure, louder now, desperate. Don't leave me. I froze, hand on the key, because that voice, that one was real. I knew it, felt it. There was pain in it, fear, something raw and human that couldn't be faked. Please, it won't let me. My chest tightened, hard, every instinct split into one telling me to go. Now, don't think, don't look, just leave. The other telling me someone was still in there, alive, trapped, and I was about to drive away. I looked up at the structure, the doorway, dark, silent again, no movement, no shape, nothing visible, and then, slowly, something stepped into the frame. Not fully, just enough. The same shape, the same presence, watching, waiting, not stopping me, just observing like it wanted to see what I would do, like this. This choice was the final test, and in that moment, I realized something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about decision, and whatever I chose next was exactly what it had been building toward from the very beginning. I sat in the truck for what felt like an eternity, engine running, hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, to hit the accelerator and disappear down the main road, to never look back. Every rational thought, every survival instinct I had was screaming the same thing. But there was that voice again, soft, raw, desperate, echoing in my head as though it weren't just coming from the structure anymore, but somewhere inside me. Please, it won't let me. I couldn't ignore it. I wanted to. I wanted to follow the first rule, but I'd learned in years of being alone in the wild. When in doubt, don't engage. When in danger, retreat. But that voice, it sounded human, real, like someone alive, trapped somewhere there they shouldn't be, and that feeling in the pit of my stomach, that impossible certainty, told me that leaving them meant something far worse than staying. I stepped out of the truck again, heart hammering in my chest, every step toward the doorway heavy and deliberate. The clearing seemed different now, smaller, claustrophobic. The air thickened with the smell of wet earth and something else, something metallic, like iron or blood. I told myself it was my imagination, my mind scrambling to make sense of what I'd seen, what I'd heard. But deep down, I knew it wasn't imagination. The structure loomed over me again, its broken wood, jagged edges, and the twisted shadows inside didn't frighten me as much as they unsettled me. Like the forest itself was holding its breath, and the thing that had been watching me, studying me, learning me, it didn't move from the doorway. It just waited, patient, calculating. I took a careful step forward, then another, my eyes scanning the shadows. The voice came again, closer this time, urging, pleading, help, please. I froze, caught between instinct and conscience. Every hair on my arm stood on end, the cold pressed against my skin, the night air thick with tension. I realized I had no way to predict what would happen next. Every rational part of my brain screamed to retreat, to flee, to survive, but another part, stronger, unrelenting, pushed me forward. It demanded I see what was real. It demanded I act. My foot hit a loose plank. The sound echoed unnaturally, bouncing back to me from the walls. I froze. The thing in the doorway shifted, just a fraction, enough to make me aware it was watching every sound, every motion, every decision. Not hostile, not friendly, just waiting. I swallowed hard and took another step, then another, every movement deliberate, careful, as if I were negotiating with the forest itself. The broken interior stretched before me, shadows merging into darkness that seemed alive, writhing at the edges of my skin, my vision. And then I saw it, a glimpse of the trapped figure, huddled behind a fallen beam, barely moving, trembling. My chest constricted. Fear and relief collided violently. I wanted to reach them, to pull them out, to leave this place forever, but as I moved, the thing in the doorway shifted more noticeably, tilting its head, almost imperceptibly, but enough to remind me that nothing here obeyed ordinary rules. Every instinct screamed, leave now. Every other instinct screamed, if you leave, they die. And in that moment, I realized that whatever I chose, I wasn't just risking myself anymore. I was stepping into a game where the rules weren't human. And the stakes weren't survival alone, they were far worse. I took a deep breath, tightened my jaw, and stepped fully into the darkness of the structure. The thing didn't follow. It didn't need to. It had already won because I had chosen. And that choice would cost me more than I could have ever imagined. The second I crossed fully into the structure, the air changed, the cold pressed in from all sides, heavier than it should have been, carrying the scent of wet earth, rot, and something metallic I couldn't name. The light from outside barely reached me now, swallowed by the twisted interior and the shadows stretching across broken beams and splintered walls. Every step I took made a low creak, a warning, and I hated how loud it sounded. I kept my eyes on the trapped figure. They were huddled behind a fallen beam, leg bent unnaturally, face hidden in their arms. Even from a distance, I could feel their panic. Their breath came in quick, uneven bursts. They were alive, real, human, and that made the danger tangible in a way I wasn't ready for. I edged closer, hand reaching out, but the moment I did, a subtle sound behind me froze my blood. Not a step, not a shift of debris. Something slid across the floor with a weight I could feel in my chest. My neck snapped toward the doorway, and the thing was there. Not fully, not in open. Just the edges of it, its body blending with the darkness, its head tilted, observing, learning, assessing my every move. I could feel its presence like a hand pressing against my spine. The trapped figure whimpered softly, "Please." I swallowed. My own fear pressed in, but something fiercer took over. Urgency. I had to get to them. I had to move them. Every step toward the beam was a struggle against my own racing heartbeat. The closer I got, the more the air seemed to thicken, like the shadows themselves were alive and watching, waiting for me to slip. When I reached the figure, I crouched low, keeping my eyes on the doorway. Their leg was twisted, the skin looked pale, bluish under the faint light, and my stomach churned. "I've got you," I whispered. "I'm getting you out of here." They didn't respond, just clung to me as I tried to pull them upright. Their weight was heavier than it should have been. Something unnatural pressed down, not just the physicality of the body, but the room itself. It felt alive, resisting, calculating, testing my strength. The thing in the doorway made a sound then, a low, almost contemplative growl, not hostile, not immediate, but a warning, a reminder. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I had to get this person out step by step. I guided them toward the doorway, toward the light, toward the truck, toward survival. And then the figure's face finally came into view, pale, terrified, drenched in sweat, eyes wide with disbelief. They opened their mouth to speak but could only gasp. Shaking, I glanced toward the doorway again. The thing hadn't moved. It stayed just on the edge, still, watching. It didn't need to follow. It had been patient enough to study us, to test me, to make me choose. I gritted my teeth, ignoring the tremor in my own limbs. One more step, one more toward the exit. The shadows clung to me, thick and alive, and I felt its eyes in every part of the room. But I forced myself forward, dragging the injured figure behind me. The second our feet crossed into the light, the forest seemed to exhale. The air loosened, pressure released slightly. I dared to glance back once. The figure in the doorway was gone. Not vanished entirely, but withdrawn, blended into the darkness of the structure, patient, silent, waiting. For the first time, I realized something I hadn't before. It wasn't hunting us. It was teaching, testing, and however it had judged me, I had survived its test. But deep down, I knew one truth I couldn't shake. This wasn't over. It never would be. The forest would remember, the shadows would remember, and the thing in the darkness, it would never forget. We stumbled into the clearing together, my arms straining under the weight of the injured figure. The forest felt lighter now, but only just a fragile, deceptive calm. Every snap of a twig beneath our feet, every rustle of the leaves overhead made my skin crawl. I knew, somewhere deep in that darkness, it was still there, watching, waiting, patient, and it didn't need to chase. I guided them toward the truck, each step measured, careful, as if the moment we reached safety, the forest itself would shatter the illusion. Their breaths came ragged and shallow, but they were alive. That was all that mattered. For now. I slammed the door shut behind us, the metallic click sounding unnaturally loud in the quiet night, engine roaring, headlights cutting through the darkness. I eased the truck forward. Every nerve in my body screamed to accelerate, to leave this forest, this nightmare, and never look back. And then, just as I passed the edge of the clearing, a figure emerged at the tree line, not moving toward us, not chasing, just standing, tall, impossible, watching with those dark, absorbing eyes. I didn't stop, I didn't glance again, I didn't even breathe. Every instinct told me to keep moving, to put distance between us and that presence before it realized we were escaping. The injured figure's hand found mine, gripping tight. "Are we safe?" they whispered. Their voice trembled with relief and fear, tangled together. I didn't answer. There was no answer I could give. Safe was an illusion. Out of sight didn't mean out of reach. That forest, that creature had its own rules, rules I barely understood and would never fully grasp. The dirt road stretched ahead, familiar yet alien. Every curve, every shadow reminded me of what we'd left behind and what was still out there, just beyond perception. Even with the truck moving, even with the lights cutting paths through the night, the weight of its presence lingered as if riding with us, silent, patient, relentless. Somewhere far behind, the forest swallowed the structure and the shadows entirely, and yet I could feel it in my chest, in my bones. It hadn't left. It didn't need to. It had already marked me, tested me, judged me, and I knew with a certainty I couldn't deny that it would always be waiting. Somewhere between the trees, between the echoes of the lost and the whispers of the wind, it would wait. I drove on. The injured figure leaned against me, exhausted but alive. I didn't speak. Words were useless, not for what we'd just seen, not for what we'd escaped. The road stretched endlessly ahead, but I knew the truth. The forest never ends, and the Beast of LBL, whatever it truly was, never stops hunting. It only waits, always waits.